Hello, I'm Billy Gross, a senior planner with the City of South San Francisco. Since 2019, the city has been working on Shape SSF, an update to our general plan. The general plan is the city's blueprint to guide policy and development over the next 20 years. It has an impact on every aspect of our community, including safety, parks, transportation, and housing. The general plan team has gathered community feedback at each step of the planning process. We're at that point again as we transition into the policies phase. To begin the next round of community conversations, we have developed policy frameworks which highlight key potential outcomes, performance metrics, and guiding policies on topics such as sustainability, health and environmental justice, mobility, and safety. Now, we want to hear your feedback to these frameworks. In order to provide context and to explain why these topics matter for South San Francisco, our team of expert consultants have created primer videos alongside some of the frameworks. We hope you find these videos helpful, and we thank you for participating. Please don't forget to provide your comments on the policy frameworks by Friday, April 16th.
Hello, my name is Eric Yerkovich, and I'm a principal at Ramey and Associates. We are working with the City of South San Francisco on their general plan update, and this is a short primer video on the natural hazards and climate change hazards profile for South San Francisco. This information is intended to help guide the discussion about the policy frameworks for the general plan update. The purpose of the general plan safety element is to protect the community from risks associated with the effects of a broad range of hazards. These include seismic hazards, slope instability like landslides and mudslides, wildfires and urban fires, flooding, and climate change. California is already experiencing the effects of a changing climate, and these impacts are projected to worsen even with only moderate increases in greenhouse gas emissions. Both gradual climate change and climate hazard events such as extreme heat days expose people and infrastructure, buildings and property, and ecosystems to a wide range of stress-inducing situations. Climate change is anticipated to exacerbate or enhance existing natural hazards in the city, like flooding. And while the potential list of impacts on your screen on the left-hand side can seem overwhelming, the solutions to climate change are workable and cost-effective. They can improve our quality of life while limiting and adapting to the changes in our climate. The city of South San Francisco is located in one of the most seismically active regions in the United States. The San Andreas Fault, for example, is located on the westernmost corner of the city in the Westboro planning subarea. Areas in the city also have the potential for liquefaction and settlement during earthquake shaking. Much of the lowlands of South San Francisco have the potential for those liquefaction hazards, with high liquefaction potential around Coma Creek and in the east of 101 area. Building and infrastructure design standards, as well as retrofitting programs like the Earthquake, Brace, and Bolt program can really help reduce the long-term risks of these hazards. South San Francisco is also exposed to both coastal and stormwater flooding. Both types of hazards, both types of flooding are anticipated to be exacerbated by climate change. This map shows the extent of the 100-year flood map. These areas were identified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, on the National Flood Insurance Program maps. These areas are located along Coma Creek, Navigable Slough, San Bruno Creek, and the San Francisco Bay. And this map builds on that earlier FEMA 100-year floodplain map. Based on state guidance for sea level rise, it maps the 100-year floodplain with about 3 feet of sea level rise. It expands this area that is further exposed to future flooding. And this map starts to show some of the assets that are exposed to flooding. This includes critical regional infrastructure like San Francisco International Airport, the Water Quality Control Plant, Highway 101, and Caltrain, to name a few. And in addition to those infrastructure, it also exposes about $3.4 billion in market value of land and houses about 16,000 employees. These businesses contribute an estimated $42 million to property and hotel taxes in the city. And in addition to that, it also exposes about 56 acres of existing marshland along the coast of the city. The safety element will also cover wildfires. And while there are no wildfire hazards within city boundaries, the San Bruno Mountains outside of the city to the north have moderate and high wildfire susceptibility. And likewise, Sign Hill is a large open space, and the vegetation needs to be continually managed in this area. And while the exposure to wildfire in South San Francisco may be relatively low, regional wildfires are having an impact on air quality all around the Bay Area. These are some of the images from the Camp Fire in 2017, which elevated air pollution levels in San Francisco and the surrounding areas to the poorest air quality in the world. The smoke resulted in an uptick in the number of emergency room visits for things like respiratory and heart complaints. And like flooding, climate change is expected to exacerbate the conditions that lead to wildfires. And like sea level rise and warming temperatures, extreme heat events in California and South San Francisco are becoming more frequent, more intense, and lasting longer. The number of extreme heat days is anticipated to increase significantly across the Bay Area during the next century, but more so inland than in the coastal cities. By mid-century, South San Francisco is expected to have about 9 extreme heat days per year, and that's the time horizon of the general plan. This represents about a doubling in the number of those extreme heat days. Now, I'm often asked why it matters. Warmer temperatures can be quite nice, especially in the coastal region. This diagram just illustrates one simple pathway of how heat and heat waves affect health. Rising temperatures and more frequent heat waves and extreme heat days can result in heat stress. This combination of heat and humidity in particular is harmful, leading in some cases to heat stroke and even death among healthy people. The urban heat island effect can also exacerbate extreme heat events in South San Francisco by increasing the local temperatures in particular areas that are highly paved with low tree canopy and little green space. And research shows that on days above 10 degrees above average, we are likely to see a result in about a 3 to 5% increase in all-cause mortality on those days. And when we think of those folks who are most at risk to climate change and other natural hazards, we often focus on some of the social and biological factors that increase those susceptibilities. Biological factors include things like age, being older, being younger, having physical or mental disabilities. Social factors and our environments also impact our sensitivity to hazards, including our availability of resources and support systems within our neighborhoods. But this often misses an important fact, that many of the social factors are driven by a series of contributing or root causes. And looking at the root causes means looking beyond just the healthcare system to the role of the urban environment and the broader social concerns. The reality is that many communities of color, low-income communities, are often burdened with multiple overlapping factors that cumulatively impact not only their health, but also their ability to adapt and respond to natural and climate hazards. And this map illustrates where some of those most sensitive populations are within South San Francisco. Downtown, Orange Park have populations with higher socioeconomic and health vulnerabilities and are also at high risk for things like housing displacement. However, there are also other neighborhoods within the city that also face these multiple burdens. In addition to the natural and climate hazards I just went through, the safety element will also touch on a number of other topics. These include slope instability, tsunami, drought, dam failure, airport safety, and hazardous materials, among many others. And finally, we welcome you to come and join us at our series of upcoming policy meetings for the general plan update. These start on March 15th and run through March 31st. We'd love to see you there. Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.